Aloha, and welcome to Voices of Change, the HSFCU podcast, where we educate, build connections, and deepen relationships in the community. I'm your host, Bunny Tanaka with Hawaii State Federal Credit Union. I'm very excited today to welcome our guest, Christine Camp, CEO and President with Avalon Group. Welcome, Christine.
I appreciate it. Thank you for this.
Growing up, what brought you here?
Okay. So my family immigrated from Korea right before, so the summer before I turned 10 years old. So my parents were here a couple of years before we were here, because in those days you couldn't just emigrate somewhere. You had to make sure that you had a home, you had jobs, you could support your family. So the five siblings were left behind, and we were fostered by various relatives. And it wasn't the best of times for us at that time. But by the time I came here, I was very excited and drank the Kool-Aid about what America was. So when I came to Hawaii, I was a little disappointed because I saw all these trees and everything looked like it wasn't what I was imagining America to be, the wealthiest nation in the world. And Hawaii seemed like an island, like some country, so it was very different. But I remember landing and smelling flowers and all these plumeria. In those old days, in the 70s, we didn't have these beautiful leis. We had plumeria leis, right? People made these plumeria leis from your backyard.
It's classic.
And they gave me a plumeria lei, and I remember smelling it. And even till this day, when I smell plumeria lei, it makes me feel like I've come home. The plumeria lei was amazing. Anyway, we came here. Then within a year, my father passed away. So it was my mom who barely could speak English with 5 kids. And so we were, by the time I was 12 years old, I started my own company. I had employees, my sister and my best friend. I put out ads in laundromats and in grocery stores, providing babysitting service. And these little cards, you handwrite, babysitter available, pick me up, and, I'll take care of your kids. And then it was my phone number. And I made $1 per child. So, it's allowed me to save. Like, some people have 5 kids, some people have 4 kids. I mean, in those days, a lot of people had a lot of kids. And I was popular amongst the Mormon families who had very large families. And I loved it because then I could get more than minimum wage. Minimum wage was below $4, and I was making $4 an hour as a babysitter. And when the business grew, I saved a lot of money and did a lot of things on my own. And I think that made all the difference because my mom was working as a waitress during the day, and then she worked at night as a waitress. She worked 3 jobs, and then she had a business where she bought day-old bread and sold them for a discount. So we helped out at the store. So all those experiences of going through the hardship allowed us to appreciate and really feel grateful for everything that we've gotten.
Do you think that made you really resilient?
Yeah. I feel like some of the kids, especially my son, we provide for him for everything he needs. And I think, I want you to be resilient. And I feel like I am who I am, and the successes were achieved because we weren't afraid of failure. We weren't afraid of losing everything because we didn't have anything. And then my mom tried so hard. When you're an immigrant with very little education and not a lot of backup, you get to fail a lot. She would start a shop, she would lose it. She would start this, she would borrow money, and there would be a lot of things like that. And I watched her trying as her best. And what I realized that every time she failed, it wasn't the end of the world. She would pick herself up and find another job, and we would have food on the table, and we somehow made it. And so it allowed us to see firsthand that no matter how bad it is, if you believed in yourself and you did something about it, that the doing was just as important as planning. And that allows you to be resilient, that allows you to live for another day.
So you were an entrepreneur, and you had this community of families that you were like maybe the lead babysitter, rescuing them and making some money and helping the family out.
Yeah, I saw what it was to be with a amazing families. These families who hired me, they were loving, they were bonded, they have their nucleus. I mean, I could see what I should achieve for. Because we didn't have that as much when you're working all the time and trying to put food on the table and helping wherever you can. So I aspire that my life would be somewhat like that. But, I ran away from home when I was 15, and I don't advocate this for anyone, only because I was so strong-willed, and my mom wanted me to just only study and not have friends and, take care of the house and that kind of thing. And I didn't want to do that. I felt that she should have appreciated me, that I was a straight-A student, earning my own keep and helping out in the house. So I ran away from home for a year. And in those days, they didn't have the computer checkup, so I actually rented an apartment for $175 a month. And lived in this complex that had other people who had similar means as a teenage runaway, right? So I saw a prostitute raising her 2 kids, and she'd be out all night and, sleeping all day. Yeah. And then these kids were roaming. I saw an old lady who by the end of the month would be eating her cat food because she ran out of food, and she was in her 80s, living off of Social Security. And then I saw a teenage mom who had children because welfare allowed her to have her apartment and pay for her food if she kept having children. Okay. And then I saw these college students that were clean and happy, and all the rest of them are sad and doom and gloom, and whereas this particular two kids who rode their bikes to UH and coming back, they were always happy. And then in my young age, I realized the math here was that some of these people didn't see the brighter side of life, and they took their lot for what it was. And whereas the kids who were going to school, the college students, they lived in the same complex as we did. They were just as poor as we were, but they were happy because they lived for a brighter future. And they had hope. And it dawned on me that anything can be possible if you allowed your hope to drive you. So I turned 16 and I went back home. Because I wanted to go back to college. I graduated early from high school, because I went to summer school every year. I was a really good student, and so I needed to graduate from high school, but they wouldn't let me because I was under 18, and they said that I could get my diploma if I enrolled in college. Community college or college. And so I went to KCC, and it was expensive. It was like $30 a credit. Now it's like $1,000 a credit, right? Whatever. It was $30 a credit. And I couldn't pay a class. I couldn't pay for it. So I wanted to take 4 classes. Okay, that's a lot. So I went home. I checked my pride and my mother. Yeah. She's so amazing. She said nothing. She just made me a bucket of my favorite food, which was fried chicken. Okay. And I ate there, and I ate like a dozen pieces of fried chicken and passed out because of happiness and home, relief. Back home. That I was back home and that I would have a future. Yeah. And that's what set me straight. And I worked hard. I went to school. I had a very strong focus on education. It took me many, many years to graduate college because I was still supporting the family and supporting myself. But I did get an education, and that made all the difference. And that hope drove me all the way through. But, the hope itself can't be the only thing. Right. You need a lot of people supplementing that idea. Mentors, if you will. There was no such thing as mentor-mentee kind of idea, but there was a lot of people who, when you asked for help, they were willing to help. Yeah. It may not be in money, but it was about just supporting you. It's like, you know what? You can do this. Oh, you're so smart. Why don't you look at doing this? Yeah. I had a boss who would give me a word a day. Oh, really? Because I didn't spell very well. And he thought it was important because that I read the Wall Street Journal. Okay. And he would pick out a word from Wall Street Journal and say, that would be your word for the day. Understand it, find the article where it's in there, and, and know how it impacts news. The first word was superfluous. Oh, my goodness. And you remember that? I remember it forever. Yeah. superfluous.
That's a
I don't
tough
want to be
one.
superfluous.
Okay.
I don't want to give you words that are superfluous. and I went on, and then now I have a habit of reading the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, all from that.
Yeah, all
right?
from that. And just having amazing mentors who were willing to help.
So I'm thinking and hearing that, you're so observant from the minute you left the country to come to Hawaii. And then just thinking, a deep thinker about what you see and how you can use it and apply to your life.
Yeah, not really.
No?
I mean, in hindsight, it's
Yeah.
deep thinking, right? Because
Right.
we reflect upon it. But when it's happening, I'm more reactive than planners, but I do plan 5-year increments.
Okay.
It's not a deep thinker mentality as it is, what am I doing all this for? Is there a goal in mind? And so I set simple goals. Like by the end of this year, I'll do this. When I started my business, if I could just make $1 million, then I've achieved. And then when you do that, I said, okay, if I can just do $10 million, I could achieve. And I lost it all. Then I said, okay, if I can just go back to where I was, I would achieve. And it'd be like 5-year increments.
Right.
Everything I do, I have a 5-year plan.
Okay.
And then every special day, whether it's a birthday or a new year, I will reflect upon it and measure that goal. It's like I don't know if you, do you do golf? So if you golf,
No.
you don't know, I mean, you see the kind of fairway in front of you, but you can't see the hole. So you need that, that
Yeah, you just
flag.
take it a hole at a time.
One hole at a time,
Right.
and you see that flag. So the deep thinking happens in retrospective. And the retrospective happens in special milestone days like anniversaries,
Okay.
birthdays,
I love it.
New Year's.
Yeah.
So I am more of the mind that I'm more reactive or of the moment.
Okay.
And I think that's allows me to be happy because there's so much that has happened in the past and regrets, right? But there's nothing you can do about the past.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. Except learn from what you've done and learn from those mistakes, but not the regrets. You can't think about, I wish I did that. Oh, why didn't I do that? Oh, if I did that, I'd be like that person. It wouldn't be. And in the future, you can worry about it, think about it,
Yeah.
have sleepless nights,
Yeah.
or just plan on it and act on it now. So when I look at it, another mentor told me, Christine, you're like this. On a scale, here's your past. Here's your future, and here's your present.
Oh.
And he showed that to me, and I thought, you're right. And you know what? If I live in the present, I can control that. I can control my present. And that means that I can really control my life. Then I feel like I have a level of control.
Right.
That level of control gives me happiness. Because today I woke up, today's the first day of the rest of my life. Rest of my life. I said, this is the first day. So I don't care how old I am. I can do all this stuff in my first day.
Wow.
So that's how I live. Those are kind of the reinforcements that I've kind of remind myself every once in a while.
I love hearing this. I think it's so important because we can get caught up. I know I can in the to-dos and the check it off, and then you can miss opportunities, right? So no, I needed to hear this. Thank you.
Live for the moment.
Right.
What is it? Carpe diem?
Yes, carpe diem. Oh my goodness. So I know that you're a visionary and you're a doer. So expand on, just being a visionary, yet, you say that you think about all these things, but you also have this ability to be a visionary. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
I think everybody has ideas. There's not one person who doesn't have an idea, right? So I have ideas. But I work for major companies that made me disciplined into articulating those ideas and putting numbers behind those ideas and putting a plan together, project management, if you will. My career in project management has forced me to discipline myself to think about every idea requires a backup. And if you can't have it, it's just an idea. It's like tissue.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every
Right.
idea, there's so many good ideas. But reason why you are saying that I'm a visionary, and I don't think I'm so much of a visionary as I have an idea that I'm willing to put my energy behind it, my money behind it, and spend the time making sure that it gets executed. So idea is 1%, 99% is in the execution.
Right. And calculating it
Yeah,
to make
execution.
it happen.
So
Yeah.
planning behind that idea, and then putting forth that into that motion. So thank you for saying that I'm a visionary. My vision comes from my love of this country as an immigrant,
Yeah.
the freedom that this country provides. Even in its chaos, it is a beautiful country in its construct. I love this state. Just like I told you, I had chicken skin moment when I heard the pule. Hawaii is an amazingly wonderful place. And I can say this because I come from elsewhere. I can say this because I held 2 residences. I tried to open a business in Los Angeles and did that for 7 years. And I decided that I'm going to put all my effort into rebuilding the communities that needed gaps to be filled in Hawaii, because I wasn't in love with the community that I was in Los Angeles, in Marina Del Rey, in downtown Los Angeles. But I'm in love with Honolulu. I'm in love with Hawaii because of its people, and because it's a place where you can connect and feel connected.
Yeah.
So
important.
that desire and that love for the community is what makes me see more what the community needs. And so I may be a visionary to some people, but we all see the same thing.
Yeah.
What I did was to just put my bootstraps on and said, I'm going to do something about these gaps. So for Avalon Development, when I started my company, we could be doing the same things all the other developers are doing. Everybody's building housing, because you can even ask a little kindergartner.
Right.
And I went to my son's kindergarten class once, and they said, oh, what do you think about Hawaii? What do you think Hawaii needs? Everybody says, affordable housing.
Wow.
Right? If you ask anybody, it's about affordable housing. And every developer is chasing affordable housing. But Avalon did not build affordable housing for the first 20 years. In fact, we built 25 projects in West Oahu, none of them housing. And you say, well, why? Don't you care about our community? Absolutely. Yes, I do. Where is all the affordable housing getting built? The affordable housing for the locals who can afford it, were built in West Oahu and in Central Oahu, in those outlying areas, because you can't afford it here. The land's too expensive. It's just too hard. So when you build a lot of housing, thousands and tens of thousands of homes out on the west side, what happens? All those people are coming to work in downtown or in Waikiki, right? That's long commutes. The quality of life drops for that trade of affordable housing. So we decided to focus on building communities where it's about building job centers, adding quality of life. And so what do I mean by that? We built industrial parks, 250 acres of industrial parks were developed by us. We're currently finishing out our last 15 acres over the last 25 years.
Wow.
What have we done? We've built schools.
Yeah.
We built 5 schools out on the west side. Where we just finished the Dream House charter school in Kapolei.
Dreamhouse Eva,
We built Cole Academy. We built the Hawaii Tech Academy. Why? So that they can have the quality of education that all the private schools offer here in town.
Right.
They can have that there.
Without the commute.
Without the commute,
There
right?
you
The
go.
quality of life. So we built Ballet Hawaii School. Again, all these are adding quality of life. And then we built shopping centers to bring more conveniences and eatery options and things of that nature for people who live and work there. So I think they're doing an amazing job. Like the Gentrys, the Hasekos, the Castle and Cooks, the D.R. Hortons of the world are building amazing housing there. So we, the small company that we are, don't need to be adding to that. Let them do their beautiful things and let them, go and compete for the low-income housing tax credits to build those housing.
Right.
What we're going to do is to add where there are gaps. And the gaps were places of employment, quality education, quality, conveniences. And then in addition to that, we decided that for every profit that we make, we'll will help the nonprofits. So Halekipa
Yeah.
needed to build foster homes for kids who had no place to go when they age out.
Right.
We built the Halekipa building, and we donated our construction and development management services. And by our donation, they were able to raise matching funds.
Okay.
So our donation got doubled, and then the project got built. We helped build IHS's triage center on Dillingham, where, you know, homeless people, a lot of them you can't help because they need medication. It's not about the housing. It's really about their mental health and stabilizing them, triaging. So you bring them in, clean them up, give them medication, give them food and shelter until they're ready.
Yeah.
And then you can provide housing.
Yeah.
And so we were able to help the Institute of Human Services do their first triage center on Dillingham Avenue, right next to the former Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
So they were about to lose their funding. The contractor had walked away, and we leveraged our relationships to bring that about. So, and then Hawaii Kai. We built Hawaii Kai because there were no, if you look at Hawaii Kai, it has the highest percentage of ownership. So it's great. Oh, people who live there, they own their home. What does that mean? Conversely, that means that there's very few people who can rent there. If you can't come up with a down payment or qualify for your mortgage, you're not going to live in Hawaii Kai. And so we decided to build family housing for rent in Hawaii Kai. Then to pay off the loan when the interest rates went up, we converted the larger building. There were two buildings. We converted 216 homes and told all those tenants they can have 2 years of rent back as their down payment.
Wow.
So that they can buy their first home. To me, that's generational shifting, right? When you become a tenant into a homeowner. So not everybody could do it because they don't have the credit to get a mortgage or what have you. But we were able to give them their down payment if they could.
Which is huge.
Which was huge, to allow them to buy their homes. And so 12 out of the 200 homes were bought by tenants. Then we converted one of the buildings into affordable housing for those making 80%, so under median income, not using any low-income tax credits. We wanted to leave that for the very, very low-income housing. And we were able to build that and still preserve it in place. So we have first family housing for rent, 56 units in Hawaii Kai. Hawaii Kai, because it has the highest concentration of homeowners, their schools are amazing.
Right. So you didn't have to build that part. You just needed the
housing. So now the renters,
Mm-hmm.
people who have kids, can rent and not know that, not worry about that house getting sold if they're renting. They know they're going to be there to raise their kids through high school. And so that's where we fill gaps. And that love for the community, what we're doing and why we can do a good job at it, is because you know your community. You love your community, so you start looking for what can we do here. So that vision, so you're a visionary, and everyone talks about downtown, right?
Yes,
that comes from downtown.
Let's talk about downtown.
That's our next gap. Where's our gap? It's downtown. So we're putting a lot of energy. We first started in downtown by working with Catholic Charities of Hawaii, one of my favorite charities. We thought we would build senior housing for them right next to where the church is on 4th Street Mall. And we designed and we were able to get all the approvals, and they're still waiting for funding. So, if those of you who are listening, if you can give money to Catholic Charities of Hawaii, they need money to build their 67 housing units for their senior housing there. So,
and thank you for the pickleball courts.
Oh, and the pickleball courts. And so while we were doing that, Davies Pacific Center came on the market. And the reason why it came on the market was a third, and it was about to be 40% of the building was going to become vacant. So we decided that, instead of looking at glass half full, we'll say, this is an opportunity. Wow, we're going to buy this and build something else, housing, And so we bought it with that in mind, and we're in the middle of conversion. And we, due to challenges related to permitting, which over 2 years of trying to address it, we decided that we won't be building housing, not for that building anyway. But we will be converting it into other uses, and that will be all filled. So you'll start to see us doing construction. But so we were walking into buying that. So there's a second project. Just as we're closing, it's like whack-a-mole. We find that there was a Hawaii Pacific University lease that they were relying on to come back from windward side. Hawaii Loa
Oh,
campus.
right,
They were
right,
shutting
right.
that down. They had sold the property,
Okay.
signed this agreement with a developer to develop this project for them to come back to downtown, the School of Sciences. So it would be basically science, natural sciences, computational sciences, labs and things. And I thought, how wonderful. So when I went to find out how it was going, they told us, oh, we might get foreclosed because we couldn't pull it together because the investor from Texas doesn't understand Hawaii, didn't understand that it would take this long, and they ran out of money.
Yeah.
And it might get foreclosed, and the lease might get canceled. So, of course, we thought, oh, no, this is part of our downtown's vision
Yeah.
to make sure that the school
Yeah.
comes back,
Yeah.
right? So we decided to buy that and build that school. They thought it was going to cost $6 million to build. We thought it would be maybe double that. It ended up being triple that.
Oh,
But it was worth every penny
okay.
because that school is in existence now. It became, it opened, and now you have 5,000 students coming through for their science courses to that building back downtown, right? And then we decided to buy the rest of the property. While we were working on that, Walmart said they were closing, and then a storage facility was going to open there, right in the heart of downtown. Of course, it's like whack-a-mole.
Right.
Oh my gosh,
Another
we got to
thing.
come in and take care of this. And so we decided to buy that.
Oh.
And what do you do with an empty store when no store wants to open?
Right.
Again, glass half full?
Yeah.
Or is it an opportunity? We thought, what a fun time. This could be the indoor pickleball courts that we've been looking for.
There you go.
There you go. So we decided to open the indoor pickleball courts, and it's just first phase.
Yeah.
You haven't seen anything yet. It's going to be so fun. It's gonna be, right now we have 6 courts that are open. It's an interim. It's like a pop-up. It's not even the permanent one. We're waiting for permits. The permanent one will have 15 courts.
Wow.
We'll have simulated golf. We do have one now.
Really?
There's a simulated golf. You can play any course in the world
Yeah.
at Pickles at Forte.
Wow.
If you remember, it's free.
So do you ever sleep, Christine?
I sleep and I dream about downtown.
Okay. No, thank you for being a dreamer, and you dream big, and you're a doer, and you make these things happen.
Well, if you're going to dream, you might as well dream big, right? Because if you are dreaming big, even if you achieve half of that,
It's still
you've
big.
done
than
something,
nothing.
something big. It's like, I remember reading this, and it said, reach for the stars and keep reaching, because if you do, you might end up flying. Right?
Okay.
You might end up flying because you were trying to go to the stars, and then you invent an airplane,
Right.
It's that kind of idea that if you're going to dream, let's all think about what you really want,
Yeah.
and then we can see how we can achieve that.
So how do we band together as a community? Because you're one person and you have people that you work with, but how can you get people on board with just all this wonderful thinking and doing and creating and adding into the community and making Hawaii, just, I love the passion, the excitement about Hawaii, and the love.
Well, with every dream comes a lot of hard work
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of investments. We're going to need to, so we've invested about $500 million. Avalon alone, with the purchase of Topa, purchase of Davies Pacific, purchase of Walmart, and the block all surrounding Walmart. We have 4 blocks under our control and ownership. And, it's almost $500 million.
Yeah.
And when we're done, it will be about $1 billion. When we have 1.8 million square feet and 1,800 parking stalls under management.
Okay.
How do we help? So glad you asked that. Hawaii State Federal Credit Union, by the way, has helped. They helped in the sense of funding, providing our loans. So community banks and the banks that love Hawaii and want to help Hawaii, should be funding our projects.
Right.
It may not be the most profitable project, although we think we can make it to be a profitable project. There are lenders who see our vision and come along with us.
Yeah.
And Hawaii State Federal Credit Union is one, Central Pacific Bank, First Hawaiian Bank. These are all local lenders who have Hawaiian, so HEMIC, so Hawaii Employers Mutual Insurance Company. HEMIC is in downtown. They invested in downtown. They're community owned. It's a nonprofit.
Right.
They decided to invest with us too. So a lot of our investors are helping by investing in our vision. Out of our $500 million, good half of it is coming from local investments.
That's so
through local
good.
banks and local individuals
Yeah.
and local companies who have decided to support Avalon and Avalon's vision into actualizing DoHo downtown
Right.
Honolulu.
I love it. DoHo.
DoHo,
Okay.
and so it's not about rebranding, but it
No.
is in a way that it's trying to make you ask questions like, what's that?
Yep.
DoHo?
The curiosity.
The curiosity factor makes you want to come back and visit
Yeah.
what's going on in downtown. A lot of people say, oh, downtown, I don't want to go there. Oh, I'm so worried about my purse. Or, oh, am I going to get
Where am I
mugged?
gonna
Yeah,
park?
when we're going to park.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand that so much has changed
Yeah.
over the last year. Right? It's only been a year.
Mm-hmm.
Rome wasn't made in a day, neither will DoHo, right? I think 5 to 7 years is what
Okay.
our plan is. And remember, I told you 5-year plan.
Yep.
We never miss. Our 5-year
Okay.
plans have always been right on the spot. So 5 years, we think you're going to see something that you can actually see at eye level.
Okay.
And 7 years when we finish all the towers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And
And,
we're going to be your neighbor, just
yeah,
seeing everything
You're part
live
of it.
in
So
action. Yep.
Downtown Improvement District is one that's under development right now.
Okay.
So Avalon wasn't the first to be developed, right? I mean, Dwayne Kurisu,
Yeah.
under his son's company, WKF,
Mm-hmm.
they own 9 buildings, and they've been actually doing stuff far before we did. The Marukami Udon, Daiso,
Oh.
the
Yeah.
Paris Baguette.
Yep.
Paris
Mhm.
Baguette, by the way, 4,000 in the world, 150 in the United States. Out of the 150 in the United States, the downtown Honolulu DoHo Paris Baguette was the number 1 performing in the
Really?
first opening week, first opening month, first opening 6 months.
Wow.
It's still there.
We love it.
We love it too.
Yeah.
But support these businesses.
Yeah.
And when people are saying, "Oh, it's not safe" and all that, they haven't been to downtown
Mm-hmm.
in a while.
Yeah.
I asked them, "When were you last there?" "Oh, I don't go there anymore." Well, hello,
Yeah.
DoHo is alive and well, and it's in
Oh my
transformation stages.
gosh. So glad you're doing all this and you're a member, and yeah, just our partnership is really tight, Christine, and I'm just so excited to see what's to come. And I love hearing this passion that you have.
Thank you.
It's contagious. So thank you. Is there anything else you want to share with us? This is huge.
I think that those of you who are listening and want to see downtown transform, give it a chance.
Okay.
Come on by and support the businesses that are in downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They need to survive.
Yeah, so true. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us and sharing all this really good stuff from the start of your journey all the way to where you are now, Christine. I'm so glad you came to Hawaii and you have this love for it. And I think it gives people hope for the future, hope for what we're going to be seeing as DoHo becoming a place to go and want to be there, right? So appreciate you. Thank you so much. Lots of chicken skin moments, lots of exciting things to come. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Aloha.
Guys.
Thank you.